Hello, fiber fans, friends, and followers. My name is Beth, and I'm here to talk to you about all of the yarny things I've gotten into recently. Today, I will be talking to you about some new things that I have just kind of decided all of a sudden I want to work on some different things. So, none of this episode is pre-recorded. I do have some pre-recorded material left from the summer that I will be airing on my next episode. So if by chance you were hoping to see if your name was drawn for the Sandy bag, I am not doing that in this episode. That will be my next episode. For those of you who have not seen it and would like to have an opportunity to win this bag, I did a prompt in my last episode, so that is where you would want to comment in order to be entered for the drawing. So, with that said, I've got all new stuff that I want to talk about. I've got a couple of older whips that I haven't pulled out for a while, and I've made some progress on one of them, and I want to talk a little bit about the other one and where I'm going with that. And I've gotten some recent inspiration from the knitting world that and my stash that I'm thinking I'd really like to do, but you know, I can be wishy-washy with that kind of stuff, so I may get into it and out of it as fast as I got into it. So we'll see where this goes, but the other thing that I wanted to get to. So today is September 21st. Tomorrow, Monday, September 22nd, is the first official day of fall here in the Northern Hemisphere. And I thought that given that fall is generally the kickoff of the knitting season, it might be a good time to do sort of a reintroduction, talk about who I am, where I come from, how I got to be PandemicKnittr, and who my family is and what I do in life, and just give you a glimpse into the world of me. So I thought this would be a good time for that, given that this is the fall kickoff of the knitting season. So with that all out of the way for the plans for today's podcast, let's talk about what I'm wearing. This sweater is Alhambra. It is a design by Isabell Kraemer. I was one of her test knitters for this project, and I sort of went rogue with it. I added some waist shaping, and if you're familiar with Isabell Kraemer and her general knitting style, she generally designs oversized, kind of baggy sweaters. And my personal style is more fitted. So I should have probably gone to her and gotten some advice and maybe requested, is it okay if I do this? But instead, I know that in the group where we were discussing things about the test knit, she had said, you know, don't worry about getting permission for all of your modifications, you know, do what you see fit, but if there's anything major, let me know. So I didn't think of this as major, and unfortunately, I think I went a little too far. I did 6 sets of decreases to do waist shaping. Let me stand up to show you. So you can see that it very much goes in at the waistline. I think I did too much. I personally do not like the look of it. But it is what it is. I'm not going to not wear it because of that. And you really only see it when I'm standing with my arms out. You know, it's not that noticeable with my arms down. So it is what it is. I have thought here and there about maybe I could undo the bottom and pull back up to where, like, you know, I've got fewer decreases and then go down from there, but I doubt I will ever get around to that. With that being said, this yarn, this lovely yarn, is Madeline Tosh Pashmina. There is some cashmere in it, which can get kind of pilly. So I have already noticed a little bit of pilling where my arm rubs against my side and everything. So if you are considering any cashmere content in the yarn that you use for sweaters, just be aware that can happen. And the colorway of this is Seaglass. I do believe it's still being made, so if you want to get your hands on some, it is a good warm yarn. I am very warm right now. I'm recording later than I ordinarily do, and the sun is starting to come in this back window, which provides some very good lighting for me. I do like that. But I think I'm a little warm because of that. At any rate, I wore this today because it is I had some leftover of this yarn that I am using in one of my works in progress. Now, I don't remember when I cast this on. This is sort of an oldie. I've had this going on for a while now. So you can see it's not exactly the same color because I was holding it together with a Knitty McPurly Suri. And I'll get into those details. Let's start with the name of the project. This is the Davenport Cowl. This color work just drew me in. I saw this at Elgin Knitworks. I was going to say Fiberworks, wrong. Elgin Knitworks. Elgin Knitworks is no longer in business, but I saw this cowl in a different yarn at Elgin Knitworks, and I thought, wow, that is a really cool looking color work pattern. And I knew I wanted to do it in sort of a color changing contrast. I don't think they had it in that. I think it was two contrasting colors, but not like this fade type of thing. But I was inspired to do that kind of thing. So I think what happened is that I saw this contrast color sort of in a back room on a clearance rack, and I was like, I really love that color, and I really like that cowl up front. It was the wrong weight of yarn, and I modified the pattern heavily. Let me first say the name of the designer. Oh, I did not. How did I not put the designer name on here? Let me click my link and go to that. The designer is AOP Designs. I don't know how to say that. So the color changing one is Queensland Brisbane in the colorway Coral Reef. The purple up here is Madeline Tosh TML Triple Twist in the colorway The Feels. And then the green is this one, Madeline Tosh Pashmina in the colorway Seaglass. And then I'm holding it, or was until I ran out of it, with Knitty McPurly. I've got it here, Stockholm Suri. That is her lace weight Suri alpaca in the colorway Meadow. So this is designed to go this part goes inside. So these are different weights of yarn. So this goes inside, and then you have this pop of color. And I love this. I love this color work. I put it on earlier today to see if it would fit over my head right. I had not anticipated previously that it might not fit over my head the right way. But I was looking at it recently as I took it out and thought, ooh, I might want to do something about that. At any rate, the reason I decided to go back to working on this is because I recently had finished my tank top that I showed in the last episode that I finished, Summer Session by Samantha Guerin. I'll throw in a picture here. And I put that on my Finish 25 in 25 bingo card from Lynn of Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. So this is a knit along that Lynn is running, and I believe, yeah, it's a year-long knit along. So I posted that the other day on Instagram, and I was like, I don't know if I can finish because I still have 10 more things that I need to finish in the last 3 months, October, November, December of 2025. And I'm calling it close, guys. So I am going to, if you look at where this is, I'm trying to find the ends. So I'm not too far from connecting these two together. So that's what's going to happen here, is that these two pieces get connected together at the end. And then I've got this pop of green inside this beautifully colored cowl. And I'm looking forward to wearing that because it is going to keep my neck extremely warm in the winter cold here in the north suburbs of Chicago. So that's that for that project. The other work in progress that I was thinking would be quick to finish is my Perfect Pockets shawl. Now, this one I have been dragging my feet on for some time. And that is partially because the friend that that requested this to be made for her, she is on social media and saying things that I very strongly disagree with. And this is the Perfect Pockets shawl. It is by Perfectly Knotted, I think. Wait, let me look. Sonja Hood. Oh, not Perfectly Knotted. I don't know where I got that from. Sonja Hood, Knot Yourself Out crochet patterns. And this is it's a pretty design. But in the wake of the death of Charlie Kirk, she has cited some things that are absolute 100% not true. And I feel like I need to finish this up, get it out of my house, and get the hate, venom, and anger out of here. I don't want to deal with a person who is so clearly just caught up in the world of social media that spreads lies about who people are. And it just, I mean, you guys, Charlie Kirk was one of the most faithful, just kind, courageous, and you know what, it's clear that I haven't put together my thoughts as coherently as I would have liked to in order to create this piece of the episode, but it makes me crazy that people out there are saying such awful things about such a kind human being when his whole thing was, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's all he wanted, was to talk about it. He never said, let's fight. He never said anything violent. And the fact that he was a gun rights proponent does not mean that he wanted to use them against people who opposed his views. It was strictly for protection. That is all that Charlie Kirk proposed for gun rights. And in the end, there was nothing he could do about what someone did to take his life. At any rate, I'm not sure how to handle finishing this. And one of the things that I thought about, this is one of the pockets. Let me go into, this is Lion Brand Heartland yarn in the colorways Glacier Bay and White Sand. And the pockets and the fringe are intended to match. So all I need to do with this is put the pockets on. The pockets go down on the sides here, and then add fringe to the ends. And then I need to sew in the ends. So, I apologize for the political rhetoric. I don't feel that it's political to say that people don't deserve to die for the words they speak. So if that bothers you, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm going to move on to the next thing that I am inspired by. No, actually, I'm going to say one more thing about that shawl. I have never been a praying person. I have never been someone, I was not raised with any kind of religion in my household. My father had gone to Catholic school in grade school, and I think he holds a little hostility from that time. He's passed since then, but I think because of how he was raised in that school, he didn't like how things were in the school system that he went to. And so I think he felt a little bit of hostility toward religion because of that. And my mother was raised Lutheran, and I don't know. She never really talked about having disagreements with the church itself. She used to watch a show called Ever Increasing Faith with Fred Price, Reverend Fred Price. And I used to watch, or at least overhear it sometimes. And I really thought it was interesting the way he approached his biblical teachings, because he actually went through the Bible and analyzed it. It was so analytical and very precise, and a lot of very thought-provoking things. And if you're noticing the lighting in here change, the clouds are coming over. So I apologize. I have no control over that. Anyhow, I was always interested in the Bible. I always found what Fred Price to say very intriguing and everything. And a few weeks ago, Michelle of Nitwit in the Sticks, she posted an episode where she talked about a specific Bible. And I thought it sounded interesting because she said it had an app that you could use with it that would help you get more out of the Bible readings and what was in each page. And so I ordered that Bible from Amazon, and this was prior to Charlie Kirk even passing. So I just thought it would be a good way for me to read and understand the Bible when I have not been raised with any sort of biblical teaching. And I will say, a big part of that was my recent watching Charlie Kirk and a lot of more people on the right who are more religious and faithful, and just learning more about what biblical teachings are like. So there's a set of morality that goes with that I think America needs more of. And it's sad to me that we as a country have gotten away from the morality of biblical teachings. And I would like to be more educated in that area. I mean, Charlie Kirk was able to just left and right say, this part says that. I don't even know how to this book says that. I don't know how to say what the parts of the Bible are, verse and chapter or whatever. I don't know the right words for that because, again, I was not raised in a church setting, so I don't know how to talk about the Bible in that way. So anyhow, my thinking with the shawl is that maybe it's time for me to start praying, and that I can pray for my friend, and as I work on this project, feel more engaged with her, or even not necessarily, because the way that sounds to me is that I'm saying she has erred in her ways and I need to pray for her to find righteousness. What I want to pray for is to mend our friendship, is to figure out a way to come together and not have to be concerned that our political views are so vastly different. So that was a long left turn, you guys. I'm so sorry. If you're here for the knitting, I have just gone into a different thing. This is not my usual content. I'm gonna get right back to knitting. So, okay, I'm editing this in somewhere because I almost forgot about it. Well, I did forget about it, and then I looked at my show notes and went, oh my gosh, I forgot to say this. So another thing that I am going to add to my fall knitting in the upcoming weeks is I have plans to test knit a hat that is going to be that has been designed by Darcy of Chit Chat Knits. Hi, Darcy. So that is something that I will be getting started probably in the next few days. She is supposed to be emailing me the pattern, and I am going to, I'll put a picture in somewhere of what she posted on Instagram. And so I don't know if she's still looking for test knitters, but maybe if any of you are interested, you can inquire with Darcy. So that's all I really wanted to say about that. I just wanted to make sure to put it in here somewhere. So back to me. The other thing that I was recently inspired by, so I can quickly finish the cowl. I should be able to quickly finish this shawl. I mean, sewing on pockets and adding fringe should go pretty quickly. So my thinking is that by the time the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along begins, I will have 2 more projects off the needles, off my list of works in progress, and I can do the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. So I've never done it before. I think there was one time that I started. I bought the pattern. I had some stash yarn. That's the word I'm looking for. Stash yarn that I wanted to use, and I thought, okay, I can make this work. I'm going to do it. This time I saw it, I kind of thought about it, and then I thought, let me check my stash. So I looked at my stash, which all my fingering weight yarn is on this little tree behind me. And I had thought about potentially doing sort of an American theme. I had a couple of blues. Can you see it over here? Yeah, toward the bottom here, there's a red one. I was thinking about that one. But I wanted that for like a red, white, and blue thing that I didn't have enough of red, white, and blue to make it look American themed. So I had found this one that I thought went well with these two. And I was thinking about the red as sort of the pop of color to go along with that. And I thought that really does not go with this one. So I'm looking and thinking and hemming and hawing. And under this table right here, I have a box of yarn that was hand dyed by my husband years ago. And I came up with this one. I think this complements these very well. And the Stephen West Mystery Shawl Knit Along this year is intended for tonal yarns. So I think this blend is going to be very Stephen West shawl looking. I think the last time I did try to cake up some yarn and try to go with it, I wasn't entirely sold on it, but the more I've looked at all of these colors together, the more I have thought Yeah, this says Stephen West Shawl to me. So this is what I want to do. I want to do that. So my intention is finish 2 works in progress, start 1 new one. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I'm trying to get works in progress dwindled down, and it's been slow going. But I think I can do it. And I have one new to me thing. I will put up the inspiration picture. This is from Sheepyshire. Oh, you know what? Back up. I didn't say what all these yarns were. This one is Soxxy Thing. This is by Purl Talk. Purl. It's right there. Purl Talk. I bought this at YarnCon a couple years ago. I'm looking for the colorway on this. Lagoon. Okay. This is Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. I just recently ordered this over the summer when I was looking for some more red, white, and blue stuff that I kind of just wanted to experiment with. And I had no specific plans exactly. I just kind of had some ideas in my head and haven't gone anywhere with that. But Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, this is her sparkle sock base in the colorway Quantum Blue. This I bought at the Knitty McPurly retreat. Well, not at the retreat itself, but when I was there in Dallas at I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember the name of the shop. But this is Twisted Ambitions yarn, and it is a sock weight yarn, and I believe the colorway is Luck. You should be able to see all of the information there. Sweet Sock is the base. And then, as I said, my husband's hand-dyed yarn. I don't remember where we bought the base yarn. I'm pretty sure this is a fingering weight. Does that look like a fingering weight to you? I think it looks like a fingering weight. Yeah. I hope so. Otherwise, I'm trying to throw a DK weight yarn in with... Oh, that could be bad. Anyhow, the new to me. I belong to the Sheepyshire Yarn Club. Take a Hike is the name of the yarn club on Sheepyshire. And this is her September colorway. And it is on her staple sock base. And yeah, September colorway. And I believe I already showed the picture. I don't, probably not. So here it is, if I haven't yet. So this is the only new to me that I have. And I think she did a great job with these colors, matching that picture. I think I would have leaned maybe a little more to the golden yellow as opposed to the orangey, but it's still, it says fall trees to me. And you can see the blue sky in that. So I think that's all of the yarny stuff that I wanted to get into, except that I found this in my bag. So there's going to be a holiday sale November 21st to 23rd. I picked up this card at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So there is this holiday sale from 9 to 5, November 21st to 23rd in, where is this? Oh, it's at the farm. It's at the farm where, so let me put up the card again so you can see the address here. This is Hidden Valley Farm Woolen Mill. And I was thinking, wow, that would be fun to go to. I don't know whether I will or not. But that leads me, actually, that's not all the yarny things. So I have one more thing that I wanted to address yarn-wise, which is I have an idea for a knit-along coming up. I'm thinking, as my name is PandemicKnittr, I think a good time to have a knit-along, if you look at the calendar, and this is a 3-week period that sort of makes sense to kind of get things done and get ready for the holiday season, from November 1st to, I believe it would be November 21st, that first weekend in November, or not first, that third weekend, the weekend of this, that would be 3 weeks. And so I want to have a 3 weeks to slow the spread knit along. So this would be slowing the spread of your works in progress. This would be finishing up whatever you happen to have on the needles and not casting on anything new until you have slowed the spread. So, what do you guys think? You like the idea? It's very on brand for me, and I think it could be a very fun knit along. And hopefully I can come up with some prizes for that. If anybody wants to donate anything to put into the prize pool for that, I would gladly accept. And at the very least, I will probably offer either a sandy bag or a free pattern. So we'll go with that for now, and we'll see what comes from there. Now, as far as introductions, who I am and where I come from, I am Beth. I work by day as a paraprofessional at a school for the deaf and hard of hearing. I live in the Lake County area of Illinois, and that is the very furthest north you can go in Illinois. And I'm like 2 towns away from the border of Wisconsin. So I have been knitting for a good portion of my life. I started knitting as a young child. I couldn't tell you exactly what age. I had to be old enough to read because I learned it from a magazine. Or a book. I don't remember exactly what book or magazine I had. I don't know if it was something from the library, but somehow I must have asked my mom to get me knitting needles and yarn, or maybe there was even something that she had from her grandmother, I don't know, or maybe even my dad's mom had something, I don't know. Somehow I got my hands on some acrylic yarn and some straight needles, and I learned to knit from the back of a magazine. I do know that I did have one of those little spools, one of those wooden spools with the nails on top to make I-cords. I remember doing that as a young girl. I did learn to crochet, and all I knew how to crochet was a big long chain. I think it took me a while before I figured out how to go on from there and make any kind of fabric other than just a big long snake. And so that's sort of my fiber story from the very beginning. I did off and on throughout the years as I learned and grew. I would say I was the big box store type knitter. I know I subscribed to the Lion brand emails, and they frequently had kits that they would sell. And so that was all I really knew of the knitting world. And I do remember seeing Ravelry at some point in time and thinking, why would I buy a pattern when Lion brand gives them for free? And I know better now. This is something that, like, long ago, I'm thinking, like, you know, what a waste of money. But now I know why. Now I know designers put a lot of effort into their designs, and they should get paid for that. And I'm sure Lion brand was paying the designers. But I just always, younger me who didn't have the capacity to think past my own pocket, was like, why would I do that? But then I was working as a paraprofessional at a different school when the pandemic hit. So this is sort of how I became PandemicKnittr. Over the years prior to that, I would knit off and on, a project here and there. I would put things down for longer than I picked them up. And when the pandemic hit, I was just stopped in my tracks. I had nothing to do because they shut the school down. And when we did come back after the 3 weeks, it was just online, and it was for maybe an hour a day. And so it wasn't really school as we know it. And I was searching for answers during that time. I was like, what is this? What is this pandemic that we have? What's going on? I don't understand why we are being shut down and told that we can't go back into the world. And I was voraciously pursuing information. I was looking at the CDC website. I was comparing the pandemic stuff to the flu, looking at the numbers and comparing and saying, what's the difference here? Are more people dying from this than have traditionally died of the flu? And I had actually noticed from what I was looking at, the data that I was looking at, that the numbers of flu had considerably dropped during this period of time, while the numbers of COVID were climbing. And I thought, that's an interesting thing. Why is that happening? That's odd. So at any rate, I don't want to get too heavy into the illness and the data and statistics of all that, but I was sort of interested in finding out what that was all about. And at the time, I had so much time in my day that was free to me that I still had free time to do whatever. So I was watching YouTube videos a lot. Once I had tired of all the reality shows, Tiger King, everything like that everybody was doing, I started watching more YouTube. And some of it was getting back into knitting. And so I had started looking up knitting videos on YouTube in order to help me with whatever project I was working on. And because of that, I was recommended podcasts. So the first one that came across my radar was Suburban Stitcher. And I started watching her and I was like, oh, wow, she is working on a whole lot of things at the same time. This is amazing. And she dyes her own yarn. People do that. I didn't know this. And she's on Instagram, and I had never been on Instagram before. I thought of this as the thing that all the kids are on now. And so I started learning more and more about the yarn world. I started finding out that there were other podcasters who do the same thing. And I was like, wow, I'm trapped at home. I like to work on yarny things. I could talk about that on YouTube too. So that's where the whole idea for the PandemicKnittr YouTube channel was ignited in me. It was a while before I came up with, a name and actually started recording videos and felt like I knew enough about the knitting world to actually be a podcaster. So I think another big thing in my world would be that I am a mother. I have 4 children. My oldest is now living in the suburbs of Chicago as well. And he works for a major retailer. He has his degree in theater. And I'm not going to comment too far on that. My next oldest would be my daughter, who lives up in Minnesota, and she has her degree in journalism, and she is working as a photographer now. My younger son lives at home still. He kind of got caught up in the educational process by the online stuff. He graduated high school in 2019, and then he was in his first year at community college when the pandemic happened. And he figured out quickly that the online course thing did not work for him. So we supported him in taking a break from education for the time being. So he is still living at home. He is trying to figure out where to go from here. Never did finish his college. Still working on what he wants to do in life. And my youngest, Austin was born with a rare genetic anomaly called DiGeorge syndrome. It is a microdeletion on the 22nd chromosome. And for those of you who are interested in genetics, it's the 22q11.2 chromosome that was deleted. He had heart complications. He had a breathing tube for his entire life, a tracheotomy. He had a feeding tube, and he passed away at age 6 from a stomach infection, not stomach, digestive infection. And when he was 6, in September of 2009, he had a trip to Disney World from Make-A-Wish. And this Indiana Jones hat that I use for my channel drawings, my Sandy hat drawings, I've got I have some slips of paper from the last drawing in it. So that's why I'm holding it upside down. But now I dumped him out. And so this is his Indiana Jones hat that we got from that trip. So this is Austin's Make-A-Wish hat. And we got it from the actor who plays Indiana Jones in the show at Disney World. So that is why I have always used that hat. Early on in an episode, I talked about Austin and all of his stuff. And okay, I was new to YouTube then. It was one of my first 10 episodes, I believe. And I wasn't very well equipped to edit. I didn't know what I was doing. And I also was like teetering on how authentic do I be about this, and how much do I edit out after my authenticity. And in the episode, I just started like bawling, and then I like edited to, and so anyway. So yeah, that was not my best editing job back then. So the reason I edited it out is because it was a very, very authentic moment. And I was like, what happened is, in the wake of my breakdown, I got mad at myself for breaking down. And I kind of, like you could see in my video, I probably don't have that raw footage anymore, but that I was like just mad at myself for like getting so upset when I'm like, he died in 2010. I mean, I shouldn't be this emotional about it anymore, but this was my debut to the world of talking about the death of my son. And I'm just like, yeah, of course you're going to get emotional when you do that. So now I feel like I've shared that already, so it doesn't feel as emotional and difficult. But yes, so this is where I come from. My son was a student in the district that I currently work for. So that was sort of a thing that I had wanted to get back to. But when I did go and get my first job as a teacher's aide, I decided that I did not want to work in that district because it would be too hard for me. And so it's funny, when I applied for the job that I now have, I thought I was applying to work at the school where he went to school, but the district is bigger than that. And I mean, I guess I kind of knew that. And so when they called me and said where they were, I was like, oh, that's really kind of farther than I wanted to go, but fine, I'll go there. And now I could not be happier. I am in the place where I need to be at this time in my life. I am very happy. I'm learning a new skill, American Sign Language. I have always enjoyed learning different languages. I've always been fascinated by language and how sometimes there are things that you can say in a language that really hit the nail on the head in that language, and there's not a translation in English that would really express it as well as it does in another language. And I'm even finding that in sign language, that sometimes, like the interpreters, we have ASL interpreters that go to the mainstream school with us. Sometimes they'll do something in ASL that I'm like, yeah, that expresses it way better than what the teacher said. So it's funny that ASL really is its own language. You're not just translating word for word from English to ASL. It has its own language, and it's really cool as I learn more and more about it, how that really is a different thing. And like, I could even, like, at the end of all my episodes, I do this. I don't know if you have noticed that at all, but this is ASLILY, which means I love you. So I give it a little wave, love you, bye. And that's kind of the meaning of that is love you. Whereas I love you is very different. So just an interesting idiosyncrasy that that sort of exemplifies how in different languages things can mean different things. Yeah. Anyhow, have I said everything I need to say? I think I have. So tell me what you're working on. Are you going to be joining me in the Stephen West knit along? Are you going to be taking on this thing? It is my hope to keep up with this and do every week as it comes out. This is my first attempt at really doing the whole thing. And, I may get to that first week and say to myself, no way can I do this. And if that's the case, so be it. I'll move on. And that may end up being part of my 3 weeks to slow the spread, or I may move on to any of my past whips. Who knows? So tell me what you're working on. What are you doing? Are you excited about fall coming and your fall knits and getting ready for cozy season? Are you excited about Halloween coming up? Are you having guests for Thanksgiving? Are you doing what I'm doing? This is another thing that's been keeping me busy lately, is we are doing some household things. We just had our front door replaced. We've ordered some new flooring. Our whole first floor is going to be refloored. We've been painting the kitchen, and the only reason that I have time today to record is because my husband hurt his shoulder painting yesterday, which he didn't even realize how sore it was during the day as he was moving and everything until sleeping last night. And then he was like, I just cannot get comfortable. So then this morning he got up and he was saying, my shoulder is too sore. I cannot do any more painting today. It's getting really dark now with the clouds, you guys. So anyway, yes, we are, we took a break from painting today. We'll continue it next weekend probably, and we'll go from there. So, talk to me in the comments below, and next week I will be putting out my pre-recorded episode and drawing a winner from the last episode's prompt for this Sandy bag. So enjoy your knitting until then, and remember to like, subscribe, survive, and thrive. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.